Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Align Creative Podcast. I am so excited today to have Scott Dennis, aka Madame Vivien V, with me to talk about your life and your process and the incredible journey that you've been on from childhood to being one of the top drag queens in Bushwick. And you are not only a performance artist, but a producer, a director, a costume designer, and a comedian.
Yeah.
And you have entertained audiences for years and years. And I've had the privilege to watch you kind of like grow up, which as a performance artist. And so I'm so happy to have you here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming over. Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, very delighted. Okay, so yeah, you've changed your name several times. What are you going by right now?
Annika.
Annika.
Annika Rhea.
Oh, the original.
We took on we dropped the last name.
Okay.
So we took back on the birth first name and then dropped the last name and then took on Rhea.
Love it.
Last name,
like a Rhea light.
Like a, you know, that's funny. People do say that. And that wasn't the intention, but.
Well, that's what you are.
Thanks.
You're
You
welcome.
too.
Thank
You
you,
too.
baby.
Ray of light and piece of art, work of art.
Honey, splattered. I was inspired by you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're matching here.
Absolutely. It looks like a golden goose took a shit on your shoulder. It's I love it.
We call it abundance.
I call it abundance. I call it abundance.
Call it abundance. Okay, so I wanted to really dive into going all the way back. When you first realized that you were an artist or a creative.
Oh my God. Okay, so my first thought actually goes to probably watching, it was either a public access television show or it was VC videotapes that we rented from the library when I was very little. And there was this woman, it might have been Shelley Duvall. She had Shelley Duvall energy. I can't remember, but she would always introduce herself as the host of the show, and then they would put on a play, and it would be like Rumpelstiltskin or Rapunzel. It was like grim fairy tales, and I remember acting them out, watching them, and then acting them out with my older brother for my father and my stepmother. And I took those performances very seriously. I also used to put on puppet shows. I would take a whiteboard, I would draw a set, and then I would go underneath the whiteboard and I would put on a puppet show. And oh my God. And that was yeah. I considered myself an artist then. The first job I ever wanted that I can remember as a kid is I wanted to be a cartoon. I thought that, like, I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I thought that there was like a process that a person would go through and they would just get transformed to a cartoon. And then you clock into work, you go to set, you do the whole thing. I had a lot of energy as a kid, and my parents were like, well, what do we do with this? They decided to put me into acting classes. And so I started doing like community theater when I was 6, 7, or 8, something like young like that, and found out you can't become a cartoon. But
It's a shame.
Right?
Yeah, I'd like that job too.
It'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be dazzling. Yeah. I did become my own version of Jessica Rabbit by becoming Madame Vivien V. So that I'm, as a drag queen, I feel like I'm the closest thing to a cartoon that you can be, with camp, giant mallets, glamour, and all.
And you had, for New York, a bit of an unusual upbringing, correct?
Oh, before moving to New York?
Yeah,
I grew up on a pig farm. Yeah. In the mountains of Washington State. It was a miserable existence. I hated it so much, and that meant going to a shithole of a place directly after school, no time to do homework. But if you didn't do your homework, you got in trouble, and you were given more physical labor to do, and you were working all hours of the night, sometimes until sunrise. in Washington, rainy, wet, cold, freezing weather. And I remember my Uncle Dick, who was a farmer his whole life. He was like one of those like gravelly farmers, really nice guy. I remember him coming to visit my dad once and being like, well, Phil, my father's name is Phil, being like, well, Phil, generally you build the pen before you buy the animal.
No.
Because my dad always had a habit of just looking at what animals were for sale, buying them, and then we would have to rush to play catch up and to take care of these creatures, those poor creatures. But Dolly Parton says the best way to get something done is to start promoting it. So maybe that was his process. It's kind of become mine, where I'll say I'm doing something and I haven't started working on it yet, but I'm like, well, I've started telling everybody I'm doing it, so I might as well do it.
Yep, that brings accountability almost.
Yeah, it does. But at least I'm not putting innocent animals' lives at risk.
And so do you feel like that upbringing informed your creative practice at all? Or did it, is that what drove you to New York?
My upbringing definitely, it definitely had a hand in shaping my sense of humor. I find that I can laugh at anything. And sometimes it gets me in trouble. Laughter heals. Laughter is laughter soothes the nervous system, and even the darkest stuff, you can find a sense of something funny about it. I recently lost my grandmother, and I just did a full stand-up set about losing her and seeing her a few weeks before and learning that she had dementia. And I told the audience she forgot to mention it in all of her calls. Got a big laugh. And that's healing. Some people might be like, "Ugh, that's a little tasteless," but because dementia's dark, but you got to find the light somewhere. And something else about having a miserable childhood is it helps. It does. You're either going to get swallowed up by that pit of misery, and your soul will die, and that's really unfortunate. Or you're going to run as far away from that pit as possible. And I remembered seeing the New York City skyline in like an animated film. It might have been like Oliver and Company or something like that. It was a Disney film. And I was like, oh, I need to be there. I need to be there. I don't know why. I don't know what. But I told myself every day I was going to get to New York.
So what, besides the skyline, what drew you from there to New York?
Oh, Broadway.
Broadway.
It was Broadway, honey. Broadway through and through. I wanted to be on Broadway. What that took, I had no idea. When I started in community theater, I did do musical theater, and I was so shy. I was so bad. I was so stiff. Oh, my God. But in my later teen years, I started to slightly come out of my shell. One of the things that my father and my stepmother would do is, if they found they found something I was in love with, they would take it away from me. And so, like, let's say you'd be doing a show and you'd be rehearsing it for like 2 months, 3 months, whatever, and then it's opening night. If you gave the slightest bit of teenage angst, attitude, whatever, if you didn't do your chores properly, if whatever, a cop can follow you around the courthouse all day until it finds a reason to pull you over. If they were just in the mood, then they'd be like, no, you're cut from the show. You need to call the theater director and tell them that you're not coming to opening night.
Oh, wow.
And so I experienced that a lot, and it really shot my confidence, because it also got to where, like, the high school director, the community theater directors, they couldn't rely on me. And my family, they would also say that, well, it's just not practical to build a career as an actor, which was ironic because they were the ones who put me in the acting classes. Uh, but then I saw the musical The Producers. Mel Brooks is The Producers. Oh my God. Loved it. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And I thought, I'm really good at math. You know, I was taking all these tests where they're like, what kind of career should you get? And they said accounting because, you know, it just works with my brain, I guess. And so I thought, oh, well, one of those characters is an accountant. And then he moves on to Broadway and he's a producer. I'll be a producer. And so I told my family I'd be a producer on Broadway. And they were like, that is a much more stable career. We can support that. And I'm like,
parents.
okay, yeah. Wild. Very unstable career. Yeah, you can't make a living in theater, but you can make a killing. If you're lucky. And so I remember I wrote my high school graduation paper about a producer named Michael David and like the art of producing. And when I graduated college in Wisconsin, I went back to Washington for a summer, realized that I needed to be, even after 3 years, I needed to be far away from my family. So I went back to Wisconsin for a fall and I worked very hard, sleeping on my friends' couches to save up money to move to New York. And while I was staying on their couches, I was applying for every job that I could in theater in New York City. I was cold calling the producers' offices. I just looked up what shows were currently running, who were the production offices, and then it led me to a website called playbill.com. And then I applied to everything. I had a slew of interviews lined up. And then I drove through the night one night with everything stored in my my Ford Focus wagon, and I had saved up a whopping $116. And I was taking all the other interviews that I had, and one of those interviews was at a place called Dodger Properties. And after a week, I moved on and became the administrative intern at Dodger Properties, which is ran by, guess who? Michael David, my favorite producer, the one I wrote my paper about. So I sat at the front desk as the administrative intern. They paid me a very small weekly stipend. And then I got lucky. Michael David's assistant, the executive assistant, I think her name was Ashley, she ended up being pregnant. And I was slaying at the job. So she took maternity leave and I got promoted to full-time executive assistant.
Amazing.
And I held that position, I think, for 2 years. And I got to experience the commercial Broadway world. I got to get my name in playbills as executive assistant. But it was so thrilling. It was so fun. It was so interesting, and it was a literal dream come true. Everything that I had ever dreamed of as a kid, everything that I thought about daily on the farm, it all came true. It all happened. The first task that I had on my second night at Dodger Properties is I had to go to the Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin Broadway show, their opening night, and then I had to guard Patti LuPone's table at the after party. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is a gay boy's dream. I remember like saying something witty to David Ives while he was there. I was like, this is everything.
Wow.
It was a dream come true. Yeah.
Good. The universe gave you that after your pig farm.
Yeah. When I was about to turn 30, it was during the pandemic. I was reflecting on my life. And I was like, oh my God, did I do everything that I was supposed to do before I was 30? Then I looked, took account, and I was like, yes, I did. I did everything that I dreamed I would do before I was 30. And I realized you need to dream bigger. The universe gives you what you ask for. The universe gives you your dreams. I am a firm believer in manifestation, you know, and I do work like somebody who grew up on a pig farm. The trick is you have to dream bigger than what you can clearly see the path to. You have to know that you're capable of achieving it, but it has to be bigger than what you can see.
Thank you for that offering. That was a beautiful offering about dreaming bigger. And then you said your confidence was a bit rocked from performing, so you went into producing. So how did you then decide to jump into being a performance artist, and not only just a performance artist, like a big time badass, like everything all out there kind of performance artist?
As a
like
drag
fearless.
queen. Fearless.
Fearless.
Well, I'd already experienced so many scary things. There wasn't much that could frighten me. Well, what happened is I moved into this apartment where we're filming right now. And the people that were living here, they were very bohemian. They were very, just go do it. Like, just go live your life. This one girl, Janira Martinez, she was very influential on a couple areas of my life, but one of them was drag. She sent me a link to a festival that was coming, a festival called Bushwig, that was going to be around Labor Day weekend, 2012, and she was like, "You better work," like WERK or WRQ or something like that. And I messaged the organizers that I've been thinking about doing drag forever. I mean, I even did it in high school theater, and it was a whole big hubbub. Like, this school board got involved, and they were like, should this even be allowed?
Wow.
So funny, right? When there's shows like Hairspray that where like one of the characters is meant to be in drag, and also Shakespeare. Anyway, so what was the thing? So I messaged the organizers, and I was like, I would like to perform. And they were like, great, you can have the 4:15 slot on the outdoor stage. And talk about a debut. And Vanessa was a stylist who had a bunch of vintage clothes. She squeezed me into one of these dresses. She did my face. It was like all clown white with smoky eye and red lip. And I got this black center part synthetic wig that I didn't pin in and didn't even wear a wig cap. And I remember running down to Payless down the road here. I don't know if the Payless is still there. And I bought my first pair of shoes. They were size 11 sequined slingbacks, kitten heels. We're talking like 1.5 inches, honey. And I remember buying red duct tape because I had spent all my money on these heels. I think it was like $30. I had no money. And I'm like, I'll put the duct tape on the soles of the shoes for 2 reasons. 1, everyone will think they're Louboutin. And 2, I can peel the duct tape off and return the shoes at the end unscuffed.
Smart.
I didn't do it. Also, I'm a size 15 in heels. Thank God they were slingbags. So I ended up opening the festival because the opening act was late because drag. And I was there, and they were like, okay, Madame Vivien V, you're up. And I was like, oh my God. And we did the thing, we did the performance. I was so scared. I was so nervous. And thank God Derek was there. He took his shirt off. We straddled him. We did the whole thing. My wig fell off. And I got off the stage, and there was this guy, Fred, that was his name. He was like, you ate, or you tore, or you slayed. It's whatever the word was at the time. It was so fun. It was so communal. It was so magical. And then I came home, and I think it was like the first time I was ever really in the apartment by myself. We had this gorgeous full body mirror that we kept in the living room that had this beautiful angelic gold frame. And I remember looking at myself and seeing myself in full drag, and something clicked. I was like, this is something. This is interesting. And I was relieved too, because like I was trying to figure out my gender identity, and this helped it all make sense. I was like, oh, I'm a drag queen, and this is what I should be doing. And then I really started like revving up my engine when I saw that one of my sisters, her name was Scarlett Envy, still is Scarlett Envy, and I was like, wow, she's a full-time drag artist. I was like, I could be a full-time drag artist. I moved into freelance producing and doing drag. And then I had to work at a restaurant, and I got fired from there.
Mm.
And I remember getting fired from that restaurant. And I went to meet my friend Michelle, who stayed at a hotel nearby. She's visiting from Wisconsin. There was a pool on the roof, and I went to the roof in midday after getting canned, and I submerged myself to the bottom of the pool, and I just like looked into the water, and I was like, okay, we should just go for it. And then I became a full-time, part-time woman. I've been a full-time, part-time woman ever since.
And so when you made the decision then to go full-time,
Yeah.
what did it take? Like, how much were you working? Like, what were there any like old mindsets that you had to, beliefs that you had to rip through? What was kind of that internal process like?
I reached out to everyone, and I said yes to everything. If a booking was, $25, I would say yes to it. And I was so bad at drag. Like I wasn't really, because there's no really real way to be bad at drag, because drag just is what it is. But me, I would beat myself up every time I did it. I thought I was terrible. I thought I was a terrible performer. I thought I was a terrible makeup artist. I thought I was a terrible stylist. I thought, but yet, whenever I would get into it, it was the only way that I could look at myself in the mirror and think that I was beautiful. And so I was like, I'll keep doing it, right? It was a way for me to, drag has been many things for me, but I didn't really think I was any good at it until it was winter of 2021. So how long would I have been doing it then? 15, 20, 20, almost 10 years, 9 years. 9 years. And then I finally was like, oh, maybe I am good at this. I was not raised with loving myself as like a value. And I didn't really have places, when I was growing up, I didn't really have places to escape. I was abused at home. I was bullied at school. I was bullied at the community theater. Then when I would go to my other home, because my parents divorced, I would be abused there and bullied there. So I just figured that, it was just me. And I was very afraid of people. And I'm a lot better about it. But I still get social anxiety. And drag, the first time I went out to a gay bar in New York, I went out of drag, and I stayed very quiet, and I didn't talk to anybody. And then I left. And the next time I went to a gay bar, I was in drag. And people were talking to me, and I could say anything, and I could be wild and crazy, and I could be fun, and I could feel sexy, and I could feel silly, and I could feel fierce. And it was a way of dissociating. I was protecting Scott by putting on this armor of Madame Vivien V. And drag, for the longest time, was like my way of dissociating. A way of hiding in plain sight. And it was very necessary for me. It was so necessary. Even though I didn't feel like I was any good at it, and I found it very painful, and I was working like sometimes, 7 nights a week, and physically I was falling apart, and I was in the jaws of alcoholism and drug addiction. I kept going because, like I said, I'd already seen a lot of scary things. I'd also already felt a lot of pain. So as much pain as I was putting myself through, it was nothing compared to the pain that I was put through at the hands of people who were meant to protect me. And then winter 2021 came, and there were these 3 witches, I would say. 4 witches. You know some of them. that were like, you should get out of here and you should go to Mexico. You should go to Tulum. All of them were like, get out of New York, go to Mexico. So I rented a shack in the jungle just outside of Tulum. And I packed a couple wigs, a couple outfits, and I bought a one-way ticket and I flew down to Mexico. I took 5 weeks off of drag, the longest I had taken off of drag since starting. And there was this venue called Radio Tulum. I did drag the first night, like the first couple nights that I was in Mexico. But I took a break from drag, and then I asked the venue, I was like, I was getting a hankering to do something. And I asked the venue if I could do like a drag race viewing party. And they said, yeah, sure. And so I promoted this drag race viewing party, and all of these people came. So many people came, but nobody wanted to watch Drag Race. They just wanted to watch me. And so I pulled a 2-hour show out of my ass. And then it became a weekly event on Friday nights. And it was the event to go to in town in Tulum. And then before I know it, I'm working as much as I was working in New York. I learned there that people didn't care. They didn't care in the sense that, like, they didn't care that I wasn't a huge name. They didn't care that my outfits weren't perfect. They didn't care that my makeup wasn't perfect and melting off in the jungle heat. They didn't care that I wore the same wig every week. What they cared about was me. And they cared about the energy that I was putting out. And they cared about how much fun I was having and projecting out to them and inviting them into. That's what they cared about. And that was a major click. And that, my soul awoke. And I came back to New York invigorated. And as the city thawed in 2021, that, you know, as we entered spring, I launched into it. And I've just been on top of my game.
Was that the first time that you really fully combined your producer experience and started like pulling in other performers? And
I had experience with it before. Okay. You know, it's interesting. Artists, something that I think is really is a detriment to a lot of artists is the scarcity mentality. Mm-hmm. I've started doing more stand-up comedy out of drag. You get on the stage and you're at an open mic with a room full of stand-up comics. Everyone's staring at you stone-faced. Your material is funny. Other comedians are going up there, they're doing funny things, they're saying funny stuff. I laugh. Sometimes I'll be the only one laughing. And I'm like, it's impossible. I can't be the easiest laugh in the world. No, why are we trying not to laugh? And then you go to these drag shows, you do something and you'd feel fierce and fun. You get off the stage and the other girls would be like, well, that sucked. You should quit drag and die. Because they're afraid of the competition. Sisters, there's 8 billion people in this world. There are so many outlets for your art. You will find an audience. If you are authentic to yourself and you are channeling joy, you know, in whatever form it does. I'm not saying you have to be like, like, in whatever form it comes into, you know, even if your joy operates at a low frequency, like, as long as you're channeling it, like, authentically, you're going to find your audience. And with that will come abundance. When I wouldn't get booked in New York, I started my own show at a club that's closed now. It was an absinthe bar called Bazaar.
Bazaar Bar. Yeah. I went to your show over there.
You went to Bordello?
I did.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That was a time. It was an erotic variety show that didn't take itself too seriously. I definitely took it too seriously. But the way that I talk, nobody takes me seriously. So no. Nobody thought I was being serious when I was having my little rage fits on stage. They thought I was just doing comedy, which, bless them. But there I would book variety acts and I would promote the show, and I learned the basics of hosting. That was the way that I kept myself working, and I still keep myself working. Other venues would book me, private events, corporate gigs, wild excursions to the North Pole. But if I have a desire to work, I got to just go out and just do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the creator. I created this beast of a woman. I can go create a show. People will come to it. And that was, Mexico really, really helped with that. Was that it proved me that it proved to me it wasn't all by accident. People actually like what I was doing.
I want to dive into where you draw your inspiration from.
My favorite part about drag is emceeing. I love hosting shows. I love being on the mic. I love telling a story. And throwing myself into the fire at Bizarre, when I would get nervous, I would get mean. I learned at House of Yes, if you're mean, you don't get to work. And changed my tune. And I started listening to the audience. And when I had to stall for time, I had some stories in my back pocket of wild things that would have happened to me. Usually raunchy stuff. And I would share those stories, and I started hearing like where the laughs were. And my grandfather, my grandmother used to host fabulous cocktail parties, gatherings, soirees, all that. And my grandfather would wander around the parties, and he would join different circles, and he had a Rolodex of stories that were rehearsed, the punchlines were set, everything. And when he found the right place for a story, he would insert the story. So I loved watching him do this. And so I just started collecting my stories, and I write every day. When I walk through I take time throughout the week to like set aside like an hour to just sit at I love using the notes app. I just sit there and I take a topic that made me laugh. I take an incident that happened to me that made me that was peculiar or frustrating, or but just had some sort of peak emotion, and I start to dissect it, and I start to see like where are the jokes in this, and I build this catalog, and you just go out to the stage, and it's just you just kind of have to trust when it's the right time to share a story. When it comes to another thing that I enjoy doing that I've been told I'm good at is crowd work. I think that where that came from is I would watch the Carol Burnett show with my mother. And Carol Burnett would always do this questions with the audience thing, crowd work. And she would let the audience ask her questions, and then she would answer as honestly as she thought was entertaining. So I just kind of flip it, and I ask them questions, and then they give me a response, and then I make their response as entertaining as I think is necessary to keep the energy high. I also find that, you have to keep everybody on your side, because you're for them. I mean, they paid the ticket to see you. There are times where like I'll go out there and I'll make a bad judgment call, and I'll be like, okay, I need to fill with a story, and so I'll start a story, and then and it's a new story that I haven't like workshopped yet, or I haven't like written out, and I'm like, oh no, this story ends with me getting laid. Like, that's not funny. How do you make this funny? You're in the middle of the story and you're already thinking of the end of the story, and you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then sometimes you just gotta bomb, and then you learn. And
that's how we learn.
That's how we learn.
And I wanted to go back to character work.
Yeah.
So you said something interesting, and I found this for myself as a performance artist, and a lot of performance artists that I've talked to about the healing properties of character work. I've done character work in my profession before as well, and I found that each character that I played, I needed something from. and I learned something from. Whether it's confidence, you know, like there was one Ava where I learned about confidence, and about how to hold myself, and stepping into that character, like embodying that, really helped me integrate that quality. And then when Phoenix was around, that was like the badass fire performer, and I felt like each one is now a part of me, but I had to like move through the character to, and there's like a part disassociative of like, I don't want to be myself anymore. I want to be this thing, this other thing that has the things that I don't have. So I'm a big believer in character work for self-growth. And so did you find some of that pattern with Madame Vivien V? You said when you walked into the bar, you know, so you suddenly had all this confidence and everyone wanted to talk to you. And do you find that you, some of your confidence or some attributes you have kind of soaked in
from her?
From her? Yeah.
Yes. It was interesting because when you step into drag, for me, when I would step into drag, I would become all the things that, or not all the things, but I would adopt personality traits that I wished I had when I wasn't in drag. And it's really funny because you're like, well, girl, just adopt those when you're not. It took a lot of time. I had to practice it, fake it as a drag queen until it became real. And then when I realized it was real and that I could keep it when I take off the drag, then I kept it. There were other, you know, things that I did outside of drag that helped solidify the positive things I adopted from Madame Vivien V.
Another thing that really drew me to you and your why I'm so excited to have you on here is you watching your pivot also from what you said, the jaws of alcoholism and drugs, into like suddenly you're like, I'm sober. Yeah. And then suddenly we would chat about like the work you were doing on yourself. Yeah. And so I really want to do a deep dive on that journey for you and your some of the things that, as you were about to say, solidified that that transformation that you were going through.
Well, it's okay. So my father was a therapist and a narcissist. Borderline psychopathic. I mean, I don't know. I can't diagnose anybody. I'm an accountant. But he was cruel. And there was no escape. I would beg him to hit me. So he would stop talking. He never would. And so I grew up and I didn't trust therapists. And I had demons at play all the time in my head. And that girl, Janira Martinez, who told me about drag, I met her when she had just come back from a Vipassana meditation retreat. I had no idea what Vipassana meditation was. She didn't even use the words Vipassana meditation. She just said she came back from a 10-day retreat where she ate vegan food. They took away her phone. And I was like, that sounds nice. And I kept it in the back of my head. I remember she had this aura, this light, this presence. And I reached out to her while I was working at the restaurant before I dove fully into drag. I was so depressed. I was so depressed. My God. I was sad working at the restaurant. I had stepped completely out of my routine when I left that tech company and started working for myself as a freelance producer, and I couldn't keep up with my work. I couldn't keep up with myself because when you idle hands, when you step out of routine, then it allows all the things to bubble up and be like, by the way, you should probably deal with me. And I didn't know what to do. So I spent all my money on psychics. psychics are just unlicensed, very expensive therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I received any healing from them, but they did drain my bank accounts. So when you're backed into a corner, you might make desperate decisions, and maybe you'll get lucky and make the right one. And so I reached out to Gina. I was like, "What was that free retreat that you told me about?" She said, "Google Vipassana." So I Googled Vipassana. There's this place in Massachusetts. And I'll be honest, I didn't really read any of the thing. I just scrolled through the application, clicked all the boxes, and wrote out my information because I was desperate.
Mm-hmm. What a place to start the wellness journey.
Yeah. So you get to this place, and it turns out you're going to be meditating. The meditation that Buddha discovered that allowed Buddha to reach enlightenment, right? And you're meditating. You go from not meditating at all, in my case, to meditating like 10 to 12 hours a day. And only that. No exercise, no journaling, no yoga. Well, you probably do some stretching. You know, no pleasure. You know, 2 meals a day is really all you need when you're in that state, because you're not using a lot of energy. And you're not talking. No talking for 10 days. No physical touch. No eye contact. No hand gestures. No nothing. You are to live like a monk in seclusion for 10 days. And I did it. I almost quit several times. But I remember telling myself, it was on the second day, I was having major imposter syndrome. I was seeing all these people, and I was like, who am I? Who am I to be here with these people? You know, do I even deserve what they're going for? And I was like, well, you're here. Maybe you are one of these people. I was like, well, what if we did it, girl? Like, what if we made it to the end? And then we did. Not without its struggles, but we did. And then I came back to the city, and meditation was now a part of my life, realizing that what I was putting out into this world, and like with my energy, with the words that I was saying, because sometimes, you know, I would be quick to throw out an insult for a laugh, just like out on the streets amongst a friend, and drive my friends away. Learning that, you know, I'm responsible for what I give to this world, no matter what happened to me. And I was almost murdered in 2017 in a gay bashing a few blocks away. And my first thought when I thought I was going to die was, my father will never know that I loved him. And I thought, and at the time I wasn't talking to my father. And I thought, oh, well, shit. And luckily I lived. I was rescued by an artist, Sabisha Friedberg, and an Uber driver who I never got the name of. There was a lot going on. And that started me on this journey of like, realizing my mortality, realizing how precious life was, and realizing that even, you know, learning what it meant to be present wasn't enough. I really had to do the work to heal myself, to relieve myself of these resentments and live in love. Sounds so California.
But also there's
tea.
some, you know,
But it's tea.
There's
tea.
something to it.
Yes.
There's something to it.
So I you know, I was healing from that. And one of my friends was going through a lot emotionally, and then they started getting better. And I one time I didn't sleep for days. And it was just an emotional wreck. It just came out of nowhere. I didn't understand it. And I reached out to them, and I was like, what did you do? How did you? And they were like, well, let me give you the number for my therapist. I was like, okay, I'll try it. Then I started seeing a therapist. And that led to another therapist, and that led to another therapist. And eventually I discovered EMDR therapy. And I've been doing EMDR therapy since July. Let me tell you, this is what I have needed. But it's all been a build up. It's all been, I had to learn how to trust therapy. I had to learn how to figure out if this person was the right fit for me. I had to go through a whole journey until I found this therapist that does this particular kind of therapy. And our first session, my therapist, her name's Khaki. She doesn't fuck around, honey. Our first session was 5.5 hours.
Wow.
I completely dissociated. It was 25 minutes for me. You go inside your life and you're watching your life you're just watching it. And it takes you to all these places that you didn't even, these memories come back that you didn't remember. And after our first session, I woke up the next day and I didn't have a craving to enter an altered state. I gave up drinking in 2019 and I replaced it with damn near everything else on the daily. And if I wasn't doing it, I was coming down from it and thinking about the next time I was going to do it. Waking up without cravings in July, that was a God shot. That was a
because of the therapy, you think?
Because of the therapy.
Wow.
The therapy, I woke up and it wasn't even the goal of that therapeutic moment. Her goal at the time was like, we just got to get you feeling safe in your body. I still had trauma from my childhood. I still had trauma from the attempted murder. I may have thought I was fine, but I wasn't. If you have to smoke weed every hour of every day to get as far away from your physical state as possible, like, you're not fine. I don't care if it's a part of your process. But everyone's on their own journey.
Everyone's on their own journey, yeah.
And so I was sober completely, even through Burning Man that year. I went to Burn that year and I stayed sober. Didn't even do acid. And then October came and I was out on Fire Island and I was feeling like I couldn't connect with people at this Halloween party. And so I had a wild night of relapse. And I woke up and that scared the shit out of me. And I felt awful. And I did it because I felt like I couldn't connect with anybody. And even while I was using, I still couldn't connect. And so I kept on using. And I was doing all the fun stuff. And it wasn't fun. And so the next day I went to an AA meeting. And I've been in AA ever since. That was in October. And that shit works. I mean, I haven't had a drink since 2019, so I felt a little awkward. But they were like, all you need to be here is a desire to stop drinking. And I sat in the back, didn't speak for like 2 months. But I tried to go every day. There was a meeting around the corner here at 9 a.m. And you're sitting there and you're listening to people talk for 3 minutes at a time. Raw, real stories. Raw, real feelings. And a lot of them were really good looking.
That's why you went.
I mean, it helps.
Okay, silver lining. We like this.
I mean, it's silver lining. But,
like this.
they're all straight fuck boys who live in Bushwick. Like,
Okay,
it's, it's like, it's a look, but don't touch. Also, like, one of the rules is, like, in your first year, you should probably not fuck everything.
Okay.
But probably.
Guidelines.
Guidelines. The only lines you should be doing while in AA. And and so what was the thing? Then I got a sponsor. I like them a lot, and I got a community of people who are trying to live presently in their body, and I've continued with my healing. And what I have discovered through that, by the way, after 14 years of drag, everything that I have learned from Madame Vivien V, everything, the newfound safety that I have found in my body, this newfound safety that I feel in my body, this connection to the world in a more present state, I'm now pivoting I'm pivoting out of drag, and I'm going full-time stand-up comedy come this fall.
Wow. So through all that work, you integrated and you piled it with all of this incredible work. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
Therapy, like, and once again, maybe that's the blessing of the pig farm. It teaches you how.
I fucking tell you, man. That pig farm is the gift that keeps on giving. It was misery.
Yeah.
But you can't know bliss without knowing pain.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my first job, they hired me because I was from a pig farm, and 30 Rock was popular, and they wanted to have their own Kenneth in the office. I got this apartment. They let me in because they were urban farmers, and I told them I grew up on a farm, and they thought that was really interesting. That farm has given me so much. I hate that place.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Plot. All for the plot. And it keeps getting better.
It does.
So now you're moving into comedy. So tell me more about, where are you performing now? Or what are you performing under?
I perform under my name, Scott Dennis. And what is happening? I've gotten a few bookings. I started playing with it, 2 years ago? And I was so scared to be on stage, not in drag. I was so scared. But I remember going to my first stand-up show at a place called Tiny Cupboard. And there were like 9 people in the audience. And I remember stepping off the stage after doing my 5 minutes, stepping off the stage, and being in that moment, like right when the light's really strong in your eyes from the stage, right before you step back into the audience, and seeing an arena full of people. And I can do that. I mean, I did the impossible. I became a full-time drag queen in New York City. And so I know that impossible things can happen. I love drag. And drag will always be a part of my life in some way. And I'll always keep an outfit and a few wigs around, especially if the check is right. I'm not crazy. But
we're still artists.
Still an artist, honey. And of course it's fun, but it's not feeding me the way that it used to. I mean, it keeps the food on my table. It's not filling me with the same kind of joy that it once did. If you spend your life doing things that you really don't want to do, if you spend your life stagnant, complacent, you'll die before your body's dead. Your soul will die. After losing my grandmother this winter, spending time with her a few weeks before, like I said, she had dementia, and also spending time with their friends, it can all just go away. All you have is the moment that you're in. All you have is the present. So make sure that you are getting the most out of the present, and listen to yourself, trust yourself. And myself is saying, do stand up. And as I do it, the feedback that I'm getting from my friends, from strangers, from the universe is, this is the right thing to do. Because one open mic will lead to a booking. One booking will lead to a new place to do an open mic. More material is presenting itself. I'm in my writing flow. I am talking about things on stage that, like I said, like talking about my grandmother's death and dementia in a way that is funny and healing for me, that and for the audience. And I get to do all of it while wearing whatever I want and not having to take 2 hours to get ready and 1 hour to put everything away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting to discover New York in a way that I wasn't before. So I'll leave the house at 5:30 to go catch a 6 o'clock with a mic, and maybe I'll have like a booking at like 8:30 or something like that. And so I will, and then after that, after the show, after the gigs, I'm young, vibrant, and dressed comfortably, and I'm in New York City. I'm gonna go do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And in drag,
it's a little more limited.
You definitely get access.
Mm-hmm.
You get access. Physically, it's a bit more limiting.
Mm-hmm.
But in drag, the moment you step out your front door, it is a constant output of energy.
Yes.
I can't just walk down the street to get to my gig. I can't just ride the train to get to my gig without eyes on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that like, oh, what do they think of me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a constant energy.
Mm-hmm. You're a walking advertisement for yourself, essentially. So you're already on stage.
And sometimes it's helpful, you know, when you're walking from like First Avenue to a gig in the East Village and people are like, where are you going? And you're like, this way, come with me. Super fun. Great, fabulous spontaneity. But I've done that. I'm in a different phase of my life. And it's also like, it's made doing drag so much sweeter. And it was in December. I remember it was in December. And it was after visiting my grandmother while she was alive the last time. And I came back, I'm meeting Bruce and all of his situation. And I had a gig. It's a blessing to have a gig. It's a blessing to work in show business. It is a privilege to entertain. But it does take, you know, you do have to, you need to, like, if my job is to project feeling, which is what it is, like, I need to make sure that I'm in touch with those feelings and I'm honest with them and honest about them. And I was sobbing. I could not bring myself to put on the makeup. I couldn't lift the brushes.
Is this after your grandma?
This is before she passed.
Before she passed.
Seeing her with dementia and meeting people like Bruce and hearing their stories. And I was like, this is not making me happy. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get into the outfit. You know, I've had to do that various times in drag where I knew what number I was going to perform. I knew what outfit I was going to wear. And I was like, it was going to be monotonous. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, sister, you're the artist. Change it. No one's telling you what to do. Take full control. And so I did several recreations of Madame Vivien V with that mindset of like taking charge and reworking her to where she was feeding my joy. But this time it was different. I kept on trying to rework it and it wasn't working. And then I said, what if this was your last time? What if this was the last time that you did drag? And then I could pick up the brushes. I did a different face than I thought I was going to do. I went all out. I was an hour late to that gig. But that's pretty good. But I did rainbow glitter. I did my favorite hair. I wore a lingerie set with a reveal. I went out there and I'm like in my fucking thigh highs, which for me are just knee boots. Walking on that bar, like pouring tequila into people's mouths and being like, wow, look at me doing this thing for the last time ever.
Wow.
Really enjoying it. And then I got home And I was taking all the makeup off, and I was like, that is not going to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Telling yourself that is the last time you're going to do it is not going to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, what if like I ended next month? And I was like, that's too soon. And then I thought, what if you gave yourself like a year? You ended in November before everything gets crazy with the holidays. And so I set the last day for my show as November 21st. It will be at House of Yes.
Wow.
I will be announcing the cast later, but the cast of this variety show.
I got goosebumps.
Oh, honey.
Not to be missed.
Honey. This is going to be a show. This is a show. So I'm going out with a bang.
Okay.
And now when I get into drag, I'm like, last time we're doing this. Savoring every moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's made it really fun. And like I said, about Dolly Parton, my father buying the animals before building the pins, best way to do something is start promoting it. So telling myself this is the end of drag, I really got to get this stand-up comedy career going. But
with your track record.
Well, with the track, yes. Thank you.
I think that you got this.
Thank you.
I know that you got this.
Thank you.
And you probably know you got this.
I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it unfolds. We're artists. It's all the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's so vulnerable because you're just selling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Everything's unknown, even if you weren't an artist. I hope that people learned that with the pandemic. When the pandemic happened and everyone lost everything overnight, nothing is stable in this world. Just because there's spreadsheets and meetings, Zoom calls attached to it, doesn't mean that it's stable. The only real thing is the moment.
The moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one more question for you. Opening the conversation of spirituality and art and performance art. Mm-hmm. And I was just curious if you had like any beliefs that you live by that have developed, that have supported your craft, that could be said, spiritual or just self-development, or have helped your art or have supported your life.
Trusting the universe. Trusting the universe has your back. There are times, especially in the early parts of my drag career, where, I remember one time I used to have a lot of roommates in this place, and I had to sublet my room because I had no money. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even afford a $700 room. And then a free place to live appeared. The pandemic happened, and I had an opportunity to start a new business, the Drag and Drinks delivery, right? And then that turned things around, got me to Mexico, put me back on my feet, and helped me find myself. You can be in some really low places, but the universe will always offer you something. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to have to change your patterns. You're going to have to do some hard reflection. When you see something that's not serving you, you're going to have to accept that it's not serving you. Don't keep punching the wall, honey. You're just going to break your hand. Turn around and, use the door. Trusting that whatever is making the tides go in and out, whatever puts the stars in the sky, trusting that whatever is out there has your back. That is essential to not just my practice, but my living. It does allow me to live. When you look back at it, it's like if everybody just took a moment to look back at their lives, and they looked at a low moment, or they looked at dreams that they have had, and they got to see how many of their dreams have come true, and they got to see how something bizarre and random came in and lifted them up out of a hard spot, I'm sure people would be very surprised and very, very delighted to feel and might feel less alone.
a practice that has helped me as well is looking back to where I've come. If I'm like, I haven't gotten where I want yet, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, actually, you did,
Yeah.
but then the goalposts changed.
Goalposts always changing.
Yeah, the goalposts always change. So it's always a good practice to look back at what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
And I lied, one more question. Advice for artists.
Advice for
anyone
artists.
listening to this podcast, creatives, people who are looking, transitioning to their next chapter or looking to how to get into their first creative profession or just break into creating in general. So some advice from you to artists or to creatives.
Do it for you, but do it full out. Do it full out. Do it like it's the last time you can do it. And
no dress rehearsals.
no dress rehearsals.
The show. Mm-hmm.
It's the show. You're
Mm-hmm.
on, honey. Mm-hmm. You're on. Life is a performance, honey, and you're the star. So give it your all.
Yeah.
And trust yourself. If you feel it in your body that what you're doing is the right thing, you're doing the right thing. If you feel it in your body that something that you've committed to is not serving you anymore, move on. It's a big world, and you can do anything out here. It's crazy.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This conversation has been so enriching, and I'm so excited for your show. I will be there November 21st.
That's right. House of Yes.
House of Yes. This is like the end.
This is it, honey.
This is the big cahundo.
The cahundo.
Cahundo.
Yeah.
I guess we're wrapping it up in the show, and I will be there. So
I can't wait to see you in the audience. It's going to be divine.
Maybe
You're
I'll
so
come
wonderful.
and drag.
You should. Yeah, sparkles required,
it.
honey. Sparkles for entry. It's unless you can afford them, we'll figure it out. But thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
This has been delightful. You're such a ray of light.
What a fun way to catch up.
Yeah, this is great. I love it.
Thank you. Okay.
Yay.
Yay.